topic. We have the laptop from hell, which also leads to amazing corruption that's occurred around the president's son and his business practices. And then you have the fact that, we've told by our own government that there's nothing to see here. Then you have this, is this the most incompetent cabinet group that we've ever seen? I mean, whenever there's a problem, they don't rush to the problem, they run away from the problem. This impeachment word, which we all hate because it's always used, it seems like, against our side. You know, the House has a lot of power, the Senate has power when it comes to these questions. How do you handle all the wrongdoing within this context of, for instance, Secretary of Department of Homeland Security and this open border and 5 million illegals? How do we make it stop?
Well, we were down there last week. We were in Yuma, Arizona, and saw firsthand how serious this is. And we've been to the border several times in Texas. So the biggest problem is, as I think, as everyone in this place knows, is what's happening to our border. What's happened in the last 2 years is intentional. There's no other way to interpret it. It's premeditated. It's done purposefully. And it's why we've had 5 million illegal migrants come into the country, because on day one, remember, Joe Biden on day one made 3 key changes. He said, we are no longer going to build a wall. We're going to get rid of the Remain in Mexico policy while we evaluate people's asylum claims, and we're not going to deport anyone who comes. So if you're coming, you can't fault people for wanting to come to the greatest country ever. So if you're coming, the person knows we won't have to wait in Mexico. There's no wall to get over. And oh, by the way, when we get in, we're not going to get deported. Well, Shazam, everyone's going to come, right? But he made that decision on day one. What we tried to do last week was show why it matters. We know how it happened. We know how to fix it. You got to enforce the law and put back in place those policies that were working in the previous administration. But why it matters is that's what we heard from last week. And maybe the best witness we had was the hospital administrator in Yuma, who said there are been multiple times where American families right there in the Yuma area couldn't go to the hospital, to the maternity ward to deliver children because there were so many migrants. And God bless you, we're going to help them. They're going to deliver kids. Obviously the hospital is going to help them, but they had to go to Phoenix or San Francisco or San Diego, excuse me. And that's all coming to the country, the rest of the country.
So is this idea, some of your colleagues are saying we should impeach Mayorkas?
Many are saying that. What I've said is, look, that's a decision that the entire conference has to make with Speaker McCarthy and the whole team. Does he warrant? Is it warranted? Certainly.
Can I ask you all, what do you think? Impeach Mayorkas?
Yeah. So we plan on passing legislation in the next 4 or 5 weeks out of the committee that we think, if implemented, again, that's the fundamental problem, if implemented, would fix the situation. But I just don't think this administration is going to do it.
When we had this battle to see who the next speaker was going to be, one of the pleasant parts of that, despite the mainstream media getting it wrong, sometimes you have family squabbles, and sometimes something good comes out of it.
Yep.
All those images, by the way, I only watch C-SPAN. I try not to watch too much other stuff. But the images you could see coming out of the floor was some, pretty far on the left members working with some people pretty far on the conservative side in our conference. And they started coming together and talking because they had a shared commonality in the fact that anybody in leadership, I mean, Nancy Pelosi did amazingly things in leadership that no one's done to try to stop free speech in the House of Representatives.